here. Welcome to the CDC meeting for January 22nd, 2024. I'm one of the city's attorneys, Sean Conway. Our chairman tonight is running a little bit behind schedule, so our first order of business is we're going to appoint what's called a chairman pro tem. He'll serve as the chairman until our regularly appointed chairman gets here tonight. So what I need is a motion to appoint Mr. Parenti as chairman pro tem.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, and can we take a roll call on that, please, Marilyn?
Okay. Ms. Rudnicki?
Here.
Ms. Zabko?
It's a motion would be a yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Mr. Parenti?
Yes. Okay, so Mr. Parenti, you are our chairman pro tem. Congratulations. So I will cede the floor to you, and after you're finished, I'll help facilitate the meeting.
Okay, will the secretary please call roll call?
Mr. Babowitz is not here. Mr. Ochoa is not here yet. Ms. Rudnicki?
Here.
Mr. Parenti?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Ms. Zabko? And Mr. Woods?
Here. Okay, the CDC has a quorum present. We'll have no business items for tonight. Moving on to the public hearing. Mr. Conway, Chairman.
Certainly, I will serve as the hearing facilitator tonight. Just means I keep the hearings going. I don't take a position on any of the items. I just keep the hearings moving along. So let's get started. For our public hearings, all testimony will be given under oath. At the hearing, there'll be the opportunity for the public to offer testimony and to comment. Following the public hearing, the CDC's deliberations will be open to the public in the sense that all are invited to listen and to watch. The public, however, may not speak during the CDC's deliberations. We ask that the applicants here tonight give specific evidence to demonstrate that the proposal meets the standards of approval for the request. The burden is on the applicant to prove the case. Additionally, city staff will provide a general description of the proposal, followed by their analysis. With respect to others who wish to speak, you may give an opinion or present evidence specific as to why you believe the applicant meets or fails to meet the standards for the request. Finally, we'll strictly adhere to the schedule prepared for tonight's meeting. However, those wishing to submit evidence and testimony will be afforded sufficient time within which to do so. Whether you're a member of the public wishing to make a statement for the record or a witness testifying on behalf of the applicant, you will be placed under oath and you'll begin by stating your name and address. You'll be subject to questions by the Community Development Commission and potential cross-examination by the applicant. To allow as many people to speak as possible, we request that you limit your remarks to 5 minutes. If any additional time is needed, the hearing will be continued until the next available hearing date. Okay, I'll call tonight's first matter. It's CDC 2023. I'll call tonight's first matter, CDC 2023-003. This case involves an application filed by C1 Chicago 1 LLC for a special use for a planned unit development, combined concept for the entire site, and final development plan for phase 1 with certain deviations. Special use for major utilities and public service facilities. Site plan review and final plat of subdivision, re-subdivision, to enable construction of 2 data center buildings and a ComEd substation on property generally located to the west of Illinois Route 83 Bussey Road, between Bryn Mawr Avenue and North and Washington Street to the south. Okay, let's begin. Staff, can you please indicate when the notice of the hearing was published and whether you have the certificate of publication from the newspaper?
Would you raise your right hand, state your name and address, please?
Gosha Pocheha, 404 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the public hearing notice was published in Daily Herald on January 5th, and we do have a certificate of publication on file.
Okay, great. And is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay, does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you could just approach the podium. Just remember the meeting tonight is recorded, so if you could just speak into the microphone, that would be much appreciated.
And would each of you raise your hand, right hand, state your name and address, please?
Brad Hout, 1862 West 47th Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
And sir?
And my name is Payman Homaini, 10 South LaSalle, Chicago.
Thank you. Do each of you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Hout. I'm with Cyrus One. I'm a director with our Location and Power team. Here tonight to present the project located at the southwest corner of Bryn Mawr and Route 83. Probably no need to go through the summary of requests as they were just listed off, but they're here again just so that you can see what we'll be covering today. Just some background on Cyrus One. We are a data center owner, operator, and developer. We're based in Dallas, Texas. We have locations across the world with a majority of them here in North America. We operate in the core data center markets in the United States with a heavy concentration in Northern Virginia and a few existing facilities here in Illinois. Most notably, or closest here would be our locations in Lombard and in Aurora. This site would be an expansion to our portfolio as part of a larger expansion that's taking place throughout Illinois for our company. In terms of sustainability, I just want to mention with respect to our company's ambitions to be carbon neutral by 2030, we do have a sustainability report that we publish every year, the most recent one being published in May. That's available on our website that details a lot of the initiatives that we're undertaking to become carbon neutral by 2030. So with that, I'll get into the meat of the presentation with respect to the project and the project site and the plans for the site. So we're at the southwest corner of 83 in Bryn Mawr. On the left, you see the zoning plan, just to give you a general idea of where we are within the city. It's in an I-1 zoning district, as indicated by that the blue star there. Currently comprised of multiple parcels, but there's a final plat on the agenda as well to combine everything into 3 separate lots. With that, I will turn it over to Payman, our civil engineer, to talk through some of the site plan specifics and the general site layout.
Thank you, Brad. Good evening. As Brad mentioned, our site excuse me, is located at the southwest corner of 83 in Bryn Mawr. The site, we are proposing 3 brand new entrances with a total of 4 entrances. 3 of them are new. The last one is an existing entrance. The one that's far east is just going to be basically used for access to the cell tower. The one just west of that is our main entrance with a security gate, badge reader, and also we provided, turnaround reject, we call them, for, folks that their badge doesn't quite work out. The one just west of that is access to the substation, and the one far west is our exit. Just generally, the site, we're anticipating to have the site in 2 phases, construction in 2 phases. Phase 1 would be starting from top west corner, would be a ComEd substation. Building 1 would be part of the phase 1 with applicable parking spaces to support building 1, a temporary stormwater management to support also building 1, and the parking lot, and a permanent stormwater management to support ComEd substation. That worked. So, so basically, this is a little bit more detailed version of the previous slide. Just one other thing, maybe as far as the internal, so each building would have a loop road running around each one of them, both, you know, and the loop road around the substation. Minimum width of those roads are 26 feet face to face, and that basically to meet the fire code. Each building is going to have 3 handicap parking spaces and 4 electric parking spaces, EVs basically. The landscape plan in accordance with the requirements. One thing to note on the landscaping is this: we have basically surrounding fences, security fences, and we'll try to keep basically landscaping, trees and everything else about 10 feet away from our fence, you know, so then prevents people from climbing and jumping on it. So you'll see a little bit of space all the way around, and also around the substation. Comment has the same type of requirements. Let's see, building 2. So phase 2 basically would cover building 2, expansion of the existing parking, which was constructed with building 1, and also conversion of the stormwater management facility, the temporary stormwater management facility, to a permanent underground detention facility. The comment pond will remain. And on this, basically covers the phase 2 that we discussed. Under the phase 2, we actually expand all the ring road around the 2 buildings. Let's see, I don't think we spoke about the size of the building. I think the size of the building is basically 286,000 square feet, 2-story building. That includes an office space as well too. The office spaces are basically located on the south side, right there adjacent to the southern parking spaces. With that, I'll hand that over to Brad.
Yep. Cyrus One, when we go into communities and we're planning our buildings, welcome a lot of the feedback in working with the local planning commission and folks that are involved in the design of the buildings. We take pride in our buildings and the variety of them and the difference in how they look. A lot of other data center campuses you might drive by in other locations will look very bland and kind of the same, or you won't be able to tell whose building it is. I think we try to strive for something that's just a little bit more visible and a little bit more attractive from an exterior design element, and that's what we've tried to accomplish here with what you see. And so you have varied elements, varied materials on these facades. Try to maximize the glazing, the color differentiation, and also avoid any sort of real blank walls. This is an industrial building at its core, but it doesn't look like a warehouse building or a tilt-up construction, or tilt-up precast concrete building. And we do that intentionally to create something that folks can find attractive and be proud to have in their community. So this is another example, just giving a different perspective. Obviously, this is a view that, unless you're in a helicopter, you wouldn't see. But it does give you an idea of the general massing of the building as it lays out on the site. It gives you an idea of the other elements that are on the site. So you give a view of the parking, the substation, and then that gray box on the right-hand side is the future building 2. We'll get into kind of the location of the building. One thing that's unique about this first phase is that the primary entrance of this building does not face the road, or face a road, just by its design. That will come in building 2, which was highlighted. That building will face 83 and have an attractive presence, very similar to what you see here on the south side, and that was shown on the previous slide. So when you look at the site plan and you're looking at kind of how it's laid out and where it's facing, I just want to make sure that that's clear about the future phase, because this initial phase will have a slightly different orientation. The arrows at the right just kind of give you the idea of where you're looking as well. These are your more architectural elevations, just for reference. So again, highlighting the difference in materials, massing, colors, really trying to avoid, like I said, those blank walls. It's fairly diverse in terms of its design. And these are the other two sides here. Digital material boards, just description of the materials that make up the facade elements. So in connection with our site plan, there were a number of deviation requests that we included. These are things to make the site work for what we had planned to design and address some of the unique features of the site layout and geometry, if you will, and some of the existing conditions. This would be an example of one of the existing conditions. There's an existing cell tower that's on the lot. The current zoning requires that a new lot be 2 acres. That would be a far oversized lot for the existing cell tower. There's a deviation requested for impervious lot coverage. We're creating a new lot for ComEd substation. By its design and the nature of what it's intended to serve, the substation covers almost the entire lot. So when you factor in the vehicle access required around it and all the equipment, we would cover more than the maximum 80%. Building height, generally our buildings are 2 stories. The existing building height limit is 45. We're requesting to go to 60 or to 75 to maximize the use of the land and ultimately the investment in the site. So this allows us to put another floor in and again maximize what we can do here. Fence height. So this is an example of ComEd's new fence design around their new substations. This is a precast stamped concrete wall with an ornamental top. All told, it's 11.5 feet. The existing code has a limitation of 3 feet. So obviously we would need to increase that for ComEd to be able to install this sort of fence. Fence material, similar. This is a ornamental security fence. You had seen this on the rendering surrounding the site. Our fence is 8 feet. Again, the code is 3 feet. And I think actually this deviation is more for the type of material as opposed to the height. Parking spaces, the current code, we run into this a lot of jurisdictions where the underlying industrial code is designed for logistics uses or uses that have a high amount of visitors. A data center doesn't have too many visitors once it's up and running. However, it does have an active office space that is used by the occupants and by the people servicing the data center spaces itself. So what we asked to do is tie the parking requirement to the office space as opposed to the data center space. Because ultimately the folks using the office are the ones who are going to need to park there and need the spaces. Similar requests for loading berths. Underlying zoning codes for logistics spaces tend to require far more than we would ever need. So our request is just to right-size the amount of loading spaces to what we would need. Driveway offset, there's a requirement for the driveway to be directly across from or directly aligned with the driveway across the street or be offset. There's a slight jog, as you can tell in this larger blue section, that we're not able to get directly aligned with the one across the street, and so we're asking for a deviation to accommodate that unique condition. Parking in the front. In this case, the front of the building is actually facing 83. We run out of space to the south, so the parking is on that side. The understanding being that another building will be coming, where you see future building, that building will go up in phase 2 and ultimately create a far different view shed along 83 and I think address the concern that this code was raising. And then front-facing entrances. The entrances should be faced towards the front. Again, we didn't have the opportunity to do that with this building footprint. However, we do with the second building. Just a snapshot of our final plat, just showing the existing parcels with the houses that were recently demolished, and then the creation of the 3 new parcels and the associated easement areas. Lot 3 is the Comet substation, Lot 1 is our first building, and then you see the stormwater areas. Lot 2 is that existing cell phone tower lot along with an access road to that. And that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Does any member of the CDC have any questions for the applicant?
Since you've been in business, have you ever sold any of your properties?
Yes.
Well, you might see how we might have a problem that if you ever sold this, it's not really usable for anything other than what you're doing. Is there a lot of companies out there for this? Or are you going to be stuck trying to refigure something out where somebody wants to have some sort of office building in there and there won't be enough parking?
We've sold assets before. I would say, and I have to double check, but any recent sales I would say would be legacy assets or things that we held that didn't fit within our core portfolio anymore. In this case, this would be a new build, and generally our intention is to hold it and lease it and own it. Just by nature, the leases that we enter into are several years long, given the amount of investment that we're making in the building and that our clients are making in the building. So the turnover is on new builds like this, the turnover is extremely low, I would say.
Okay, one other question. What is the time between phase 1 and phase 2?
So once we start a site, we'd like to move the crews right into the next building. There's a lot of efficiencies to be had by having the construction trailer set up, an active construction site, and having crews familiar with it and just move on to the next building. So ideally, we would move from the completion of building 1 and right into building 2. Our construction phases are typically 12 to 15 months for one building. So you figure 12 to 15 months and then move on to the next one.
All right.
Any other questions from any other members?
Yes. A question about the building height, 75 feet. Has that been cleared with the airport and everybody else?
We haven't had any specific conversations with the airport.
I don't know if it's allowable, that height around here.
Yeah, it's a good question. In terms of what sort of jurisdiction will exist when we come in for building permit?
I think it was 60 feet.
60 feet? Yeah, so I imagine, I know that there's a, typically when you're around an airport, there's like a oval ring that goes around it that, you know, outlines the jurisdiction that the airport has and how far out it goes. I imagine we're in that. So, yeah, when we come in for building permit, we've got our design drawings. I imagine we'll have to interface with the appropriate folks on that approval.
Yeah, just like that to be addressed.
Yeah.
Mr. Wood?
So if it is 60 feet, are you prepared to build a building at 60 feet?
We would have to listen. I mean, the permitting authority, whoever holds the authority to make that decision, to make the request of us, we'd have to listen to, and if there were opportunities to request a variance or, you know, find ways to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, we would explore those as well. But we'll work with anybody who has jurisdiction over the site for sure.
Any other questions from any other members? Okay, great. So what we're going to do next, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What we're going to do next is we're going to go to staff and get staff's comments on this. And then after staff, we're going to open it up to the public for questions and comments. So next we'll start with staff.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So luckily, the applicant has done a really good job presenting a lot of the details, so I may skip some of the slides as the information you've just seen. This is just a recap of our application. The general location map we're very familiar with. We're located along Route 83. This is the location map that's close. We're essentially between Bryn Mawr and Washington Street. This is the zoning map. The subject property is zoned I-1, which is our light industrial zoning district. It is not in any overlay district. The comprehensive the comprehensive plan designates this area in the future land use as industrial business park area and a site likely to experience development pressure. So that's really in line with the development. A little bit of background on this particular property, it may look a little bit familiar. The subject property was annexed back in January of 2022. At the time, there were a couple of requests that were also finalized, and some of them came in as a preliminary request, and that's why the applicant is coming back with the applications again. So at the time of annexation, the rezoning was finalized, so the subject site right now is zoned I-1. The other approvals included vacations of North Street and Pine Avenue. Subsequently, the buildings that were on site have been demolished. However, the pavement has remained on site just to provide access for the fire equipment, fire trucks essentially, to be able to use the site in case of emergency in the residential neighborhood to the south. The special use for PUD that was considered at the time was only a preliminary development. That application has been withdrawn, and that's why the applicant is submitting for a new PUD that's a little bit different. The other was for consideration of logistics centers, and these are data centers. And then we also had the preliminary subdivision plat, so right now the applicant is coming in for the final plat of subdivision. The survey, this is all existing information. As I said, these buildings have already been demolished. The plat of subdivision, as was covered by the applicant, there will be 3 parcels created to really accommodate this development. This is the proposed site plan, and again, we've got building 1 and the substations that will be part of phase 1. And then also the detention that will serve the Comet substation that's in blue. And then we've got the building 2 with adjacent parking lot that will be constructed as phase 2. A little bit more on the phasing. The applicant has submitted a final development plan under the PDU for the phase 1 because that's essentially the first building that will be constructed. And as I said, that includes the building. The building will have office and warehouse, the data center space. And there's going to be 73 parking spaces in the Comet substation with a detention pond. The phase 2 right now is coming in under the concept plan, so not as detailed because obviously the elevations for the building, the floor plans are not complete yet. So the applicant will have to come back for another appearance before CDC once the phase 2 is ready to move forward with permitting. This is the rendering that we've seen of the building facing south. This is the same one kind of off of Route 83. A little bit in terms of general, in the staff memo, you'll find all of the items that we've looked at for landscaping, for parking, and so on. A few things that I wanted to highlight in terms of engineering. For stormwater, sort of preliminary, almost final set of plans was submitted. It was reviewed by our engineer. It went through a couple of rounds of review as it typically does. The phase 1, as was mentioned in the presentation, will include above ground stormwater detention, and then in phase 2 that will be converted to underground. There will be native vegetation, sort of detention pond to serve Comet, kind of in the northeast corner. In terms of traffic, a traffic impact study was submitted. It was reviewed by city consultant. Really, the idea is that data centers don't generate as much traffic as logistics centers. Obviously, there's not a lot of truck movement, not a lot of cars, so it's not expected to have a significant impact on the existing traffic and the road system that surrounds it. I did want to mention a little bit about the fire district. The developer has been in contact with the Wooddale Fire District. You may recall that was one of the concerns with the preliminary development plans, that we didn't want to cut off access for the fire district to the property to the south. The developer has provided a couple of temporary steps so that access could still be provided during construction. There will be temporary access through this site, where the fire district will have access to actually go through the gates with a Knox box, or even go through the gate if needed, just to kind of traverse the site and to provide circular traffic for the residential property to the south. There also will be a new fire hydrant added as the construction moves forward, which would allow access to the fire district so that they would not have to go through the site. So these are sort of conversations that are ongoing, and the developer is working closely with the fire district to ensure that this is being addressed. In terms of the compliance with EU, once again, these are all the requests that we have. We have a special use for planned unit development. We have a combined preliminary, and we have a final. We have a special use for the major utilities public service facility. That is for the ComEd station. So essentially, the applicant is requesting that for Operation ComEd. Site plan review, which is administrative, that was addressed in the staff memo. And then we have final plat of subdivision. Essentially re-subdivision. That is typically something that goes directly to City Council, but we wanted to present it to CDC as a complete packet. The deviations that are listed here, the applicant did a really good job kind of highlighting all of these items. These are the things that they're not able to meet in terms of code compliance, but there's something very particular about this project that they're requesting this. As you've seen before, planned unit developments are really meant to provide some flexibility to the developer in terms of relief that is needed, but the end result is really a better product that gets developed in a particular site. Compliance with the comprehensive plan, I mentioned, it does conform with the future land use plan map that is in our comprehensive plan. Also, there are multiple goals and objectives from the comprehensive plan that are being met. In general, economic development, ability to provide jobs, and also this balanced use that will support a stronger tax base in the city. In terms of public comments, we did not receive any public comment related to this petition. I did receive one inquiry if somebody wanted to get a copy of the ordinance, so we directed them to the website once it was available. But they didn't necessarily make any comment in relation to their application. And in terms of the recommendation, the Community Development Department recommends that CDC recommend approval. We do find that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the UDO. The staff memo that was presented includes responses to standards for all of the requests that are being sought. There are a few conditions that we are recommending with this project, and the first one is very standard that we see, that we want to make sure that whatever product will be constructed is in conformance with the packet of the documents that are in front of you today. Number two is that the special use will relate to the lot itself. Number three, final engineering approval prior to issuance of the building permits, once again, very standard. And then number four, if there are any rooftop units visible, that we want to make sure there's screening provided. Based on the images and the graphics that were provided, they will not be any that are visible right now, but we kind of want to have this in there just in case if anything changes. And then the last one is about landscaping. We want to make sure that the landscaping that is being proposed is maintained as the project moves forward. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Does any member of the CDC have any questions for staff? Mr. Wood?
Let me see where I'm going to start with this. The rest of the houses next to this, have they been bought up already?
Correct. So the
whole
current,
place is done.
not the whole thing. So the current property owners have recently closed on majority of the residential properties to the south of this site. So at the time when the application was submitted, they were not the property owners, but as we were going through the revisions and so on, and as I said, just as recently as in November, the property owners purchased majority, with the exception of, I believe, 7 residential properties directly to the south. And that they have since submitted for an application for annexation to the city and rezoning. So that is sort of in the process of the zoning entitlement process, and will come in front of you in the near future.
Yes. We do want you here, there's no doubt about that, but I don't want to have a poor person stuck with a property with a 75-foot building right in front of them where they can't go anywhere. Other is the fences, are they gonna look just like that?
Yeah, the images that I had in there are standard
Very
fences.
similar to the airport, that wall right around Irving Park Road.
I'm not familiar with that particular wall, but
It's got a similar fence on it with the brick fence.
so that's our fencing that's around our site. The other fence material is specific to ComEd substation, so that's only around the ComEd piece.
Here's the part I'm worried about, Gosha. They put this up, and let's say there's a few houses left that are having to be bought up. They're gonna say, hey, sell it to us for what we want, or you're gonna sit here and look at this.
So my understanding
That's
that.
why I was kind of worried about whether they were all bought up already or not.
Yeah, so the fencing kind of tends to follow the line of the parking lot. So it's not going to go around the edges of the property line. It tends to follow the parking lot, so that always provides some distance from
And I
any properties
understand
to the
that, but
south.
If you woke up every morning, would you like to look at it? So, another thing is the cell tower and all this power we're generating there. It's not going to affect it in the slightest?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The cell tower that's there and the power they're generating in that substation there, it's not going to affect that cell tower at all?
I can't say that with certainty. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, but I know that cell towers exist in close proximity to substations, and I think in some cases you'll see cell towers on top of the transmission facilities.
One last question. With the fire ratings and that, I know that you're going to have a lot of electronics in this building, right? Is this going to be strictly water, or is there going to be some sort of a foam system, or?
It's fully sprinklered, and I think it varies depending on which part of the building you're in for the appropriate fire code rating for that space.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for staff or the applicant?
No, he answered my question.
Okay, great. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open it up for any questions of the public, any comments, either in favor of the zoning request or not in favor of the zoning request. And I just want to sort of remind the public that this is limited to the zoning request that's being requested tonight. So I ask that, to the extent that you have any statements or questions, you direct them at the zoning request, okay? Does anybody have any statements or questions about this particular zoning request? Sir, thank you very much. Can you come up to the podium, please? Okay. And just a reminder, folks, just so we can move our hearings along, because we actually have another hearing after this one, I just ask that you limit your remarks.
I will try to make it as fast as possible, but please recognize it is our lives. Okay?
Would you raise your right hand?
I
State
will.
your name and address, please.
My name is Jason DiBello. I live at 17W040 Washington Street.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I hope you can bear with me. I'm going to have to read some of the information that I have. Are you guys staying up here for questions, or?
We can have this.
Yeah.
Mark, you guys can.
Okay. Bear with me, please. Good evening, City Council members and fellow residents. My name is Jason DiBello. I live at 17W040 Washington Street. I also own the home at 17W049. I have been a resident of this community for 42 years, with a business supporting local businesses and residents for almost 24 years. I am here to voice my concerns regarding the proposed CyrusOne data center development, particularly focusing on noise, environmental impact, and special use considerations. My journey with this development has been a complex and frankly an unsettling one. Like many in our community, I negotiated with the developer seeking a fair agreement. Surprisingly, despite my offer being lower than the highest prices paid to others, it was refused. I was told my home was not needed because others on my block supposedly refused to sell at a reasonable price or not at all. This seems to me to be a tactic used to undervalue my property. The classification of data centers remains ambiguous. Without a clear definition, these facilities could significantly impact our surrounding neighborhoods. Unlike conventional businesses or warehouses, data centers operate continuously, leading to unique challenges in managing the effects on nearby residents. Our community faces a significant change with the construction of this data center. One immediate concern is noise pollution, not just from the operational aspects of the data center, but also during the construction phase. These concerns of noise pollution are not thoughts of what could happen. They are proven complaints that CyrusOne is fully aware of. These are complaints that are at all of their other locations. I will cite that in Chandler, Arizona, CyrusOne spent over $20 million for sound mitigation, and it's still a problem. In Chandler, residents near CyrusOne data centers are struggling with the noise issues from a building that is considerably smaller than what is proposed here in Wooddale. In Chandler, the residents are double the distance away from the data center than my family. With this proposal in Wooddale, there are around 30 generators supporting these first two buildings, and no reference to how many at building number 3. These generators will be tested about 4 to 5 times each month at between 8 to 10 hours a day. We also have the rooftop cooling equipment that will be constant. At the CyrusOne site in Chandler, this is referred to as the Chandler hum. The development's environmental impact is another pressing issue. With limited impervious ground on the site, has there been any thorough study of how this project will affect groundwater, recharge, and compliance with local codes? Who is responsible for the managing of the proposed wetlands and ensuring the integrity of our stormwater systems? Furthermore, the heavy machinery and construction can contaminate and alter our private wells. These are a critical water source for all of us. Soil and well water testing are crucial. We need assurances that our wells will remain safe and uncontaminated throughout this development. Additionally, the proposed ComEd substation requiring special use approval further complicates matters. Have adequate studies been conducted to assess the potential effects of EMFs, electromagnetic fields? These concerns are listed especially with substations in the World Health Organization's website. Lastly, the extent of light pollution from the structure of this height is a significant concern. How much glare will be emitted, and what measures are in place to control it? What are the planned lighting hours, and how will this impact our living environment? The City of Wooddale Community Development Department has sent a description of this application for proposed amendment and ordinance changes to the Community Development Commission. These were sent by the Senior Planner for Wooddale Community Development Department. I would like to point out to the Commission, page 7, paragraph 2. Here it says, the applicant is also seeking a deviation from the maximum permitted building height from 45 feet to 75 feet. With the extensive size of the parcel and significant setback from Route 83, the applicant is seeking to increase the building height to maximize its usable space within the building, which will directly impact the investment and economic benefit. My question is, why would the City of Wooddale consider directly ruling in favor of this CyrusOne application for additional corporate profits over the health and well-being of its community? I want to be clear, I have no personal issue with CyrusOne as a company. However, their proximity to our homes poses significant challenges. I signed an agreement to sell my home, but the developer did not honor their end. And I have all the contracts, emails, and texts to prove it. This situation was thrust upon me, and now my family is forced to live through this development. We need assurances of safety and well-being for my family. In conclusion, while I understand the economic benefits of this development may bring, it should not come to the cost of the well-being of our community. I urge the council and developers to consider these impacts seriously and ensure that any development is harmonious with the needs and the rights of the existing residents. At this point, I'm going to ask you, does the commission have any questions directly for me? And I have a short couple of paragraphs after this.
The members have any questions for a member of the public? Yep.
Have there been a lot of people who backed out, got their deals backed out of?
I don't know about anyone else because it was very hush-hush on the communication with what people were looking for their properties.
Okay.
And just as a procedural point, and I want to remind CDC members that tonight we're here on a zoning request. To the extent that there are private dealings between the homeowners and the developer, those are private matters. Is there any other questions for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who does the oversight on these wells? Is it the county or is it Wooddale? Or?
Currently, right now, we're DuPage County. And one of the issues that we're having, too, if it stands like that, if we're not forcibly annexed into Wooddale, if you can pull up one of the slides that shows the foliage to the south, also the existing creek. I believe you stated that there was, there's another south elevation, maybe that one, back one. Okay, I know that you said that you have something that's been submitted to the village as far as the drainage. How does that include land that's DuPage County, which currently goes through the middle of my backyard? I'm curious to see what that looks like. Were there any more questions?
Thank you very much, sir.
I wanted to say one more thing. I have some packets here of the information that I just spoke about. I have included Chandler, Arizona's building department notes on the ordinance that they adopted, comparison maps of the distance from the Chandler residence and my property, Facebook texts from Chandler residents, and topic questions as corroborating information to support my concerns to each member. I've also included a letter that was sent to me by Wooddale, July 6, 2023, from the legal representative for Wooddale, Bond, Dickerson, and Conway. This letter was signed by the city attorney, Patrick K. Bond. This letter, in my opinion, was a threat of what will come if we did not sell our properties. I am not sure if these actions in this letter are legal, but I am sure that someone is out there can let me know. I thank you for your attention to these critical matters. And if it's okay, I'd like to pass you some of these packets.
We'll make that part of the record.
Okay.
It's okay, Andy?
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Woods, I believe you had an additional question for staff.
Gosha, they do have to meet at DB level, right?
That is correct. We actually, during our initial review process, we noted sort of noise concerns. We had some initial conversations about the cycling of the generators and so on. So in our code, we do have performance standards, and they heavily rely on what the requirements are for the state. And I think I'm going to read specifically. So it says that they have to meet the state of Illinois standards as prescribed in Illinois Pollution Control Board, subtitle H for noise. So the applicant has submitted a statement that stating that this is something that they will abide to and they will provide required documentation as we move forward with the permitting.
But we already have something in our code for DB levels, correct?
We do not.
We don't. Really? I know that you guys cited me once for one.
Oh, maybe it was a...
building over what used to be Phoenix that's now Fire and something.
Okay,
They complained that it was too loud on an exhaust fan that was in there.
okay.
And we had to order a muffler from California for it. So I know they must have had something, and they didn't just pull it out of the wind.
So I'm heavily relying on zoning, unless if there was something in maybe property maintenance or police that may have very specific details, maybe that was the case.
All right.
Staff, question for staff. How tall is any of our current buildings in our Wooddale, and what's the tallest we have?
That's an excellent question. I don't have that information.
Aren't they limited to 60 feet?
So 45 is the maximum in the I-1 zoning district. That is correct.
Okay, I want to give the public more opportunity to make any statements or comments. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir. Please approach the podium.
Raise your right hand, please. State your name and address.
My name is Rafael Velasco, 17W036 Hawthorne.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rafael. I live in Mohawk Manor. Have been living there for the last 13 years. Prior to that, I was living in North Lake. I didn't know well water existed until I came to live in unincorporated Bensonville. My concerns revolve around the proximity of the data centers to our residential homes. And I think my biggest concern is electromagnetic fields. There has been some tests that suggest development issues in children, along with an increased risk of certain cancers. There's going to be a substation and multiple data centers in our subdivision that are all going to cause high levels of electromagnetic fields. I would like some assurance that that's not going to cause physical harm to my family. As a father, as a community member, I find it extremely disturbing that it could possibly cause any physical harm to my family. My second concern is mostly around our well contamination. There was some changes to our wells during phase 1 and phase 2 of the development. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm guessing it maybe have something to do with the fact that they're like uprooting 70-year-old trees. There was definitely some changes in our well system, which have settled. However, I'm not sure if it's going to continue with the demolishing of the rest of the homes around us. My concern with the data center also revolve around the amount of diesel fuel that's likely going to be stored at a facility like this. I'm guessing that they're probably going to have multiple storage tanks or one large storage tank. Concerned about whether it will be above ground, below ground, if there's any catch basins necessary to prevent the diesel fuel from leaching into our drinking water. Is there any safety measures or special measures in place to prevent that, like a catch basin or something like that? Finally, I just want to state that we all know that there has been ongoing development. We knew this would happen. It is unfortunate that the whole subdivision is not being developed at a time. It leaves us really in isolation. All of our neighbors have left. And what I've gotten from Wooddale, which has actually been very limited, I actually was able to get most of my information by requesting a FOIA. Other than that, I did not get very much of any information from DuPage or Wooddale. I talked to Stacy, which was very limited information. I just request from you guys that you guys consider the remaining residents that are in the subdivision. Ultimately, we are here to try to live a normal life, to have safe drinking water, and to not have high levels of electromagnetic fields that could cause cancer and other issues. I do appreciate the time, and I do appreciate you guys letting us speak.
Thank you very much, sir. What I'm going to do is we're going to have everybody from the public have their chance to make a comment, and then we'll let the applicant address any of the issues that are raised by members of the public. We'll give the applicant that opportunity after everybody's had a chance to speak. Is there any other member of the public that would like to make a comment or statement? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Would you raise your right hand, please, and state your name and address?
My name is Thomas Milewski. I reside at 17W061 Washington Street, Bensonville, Illinois 60106.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So maybe some information about latest developments, because Cyrus One bought 62 houses out of 70. There is 5 houses left on Washington Street. There is 1 house left on Center Street, and there are 2 houses left on Hawthorne. My house is right here. Oh, this one. Okay, this is Jason's house. As the first gentleman that spoke, my house is about 100 feet closer to the data center, and I second all the concerns that Jason said about noise, light, pollution of all kinds of construction. My property is right next to it. There is no separation. There is infinitely thin property line that separates me from this development. And I appreciate your comments about private nature of negotiations between Cyrus One and residents. However, I'm not aware of any negotiations between Cyrus One and residents, because all the negotiations were handled by Transwestern, which was the developer who originally bought this site and then sold it to Cyrus One for over twice the cost that they acquired it. They profited over $1 million per each house they purchased in the neighborhood. They purchased 30 houses for about $23 million. They sold it to Cyrus One for $55 million. Now, the problem that exists is constant intimidation in the negotiation process. Unfortunately, Wooddale, it seems, took active part in that process. We received communications from lawyers that were stating that they worked for Wooddale. I'm not sure how much association they had with Wooddale, but they must have some. They put it in writing. Some of us had phone calls that was also from some lawyer that was representing Wooddale and trying to ask us, how much your house is worth. And the question how much your house is worth is pretty much irrelevant, because the value of the land is multiple times more than the value of any houses. So in the latest purchase of 62 houses, the people that were intimidated by all kinds of actions, rumors, threats, presented to us mainly by Transwestern, but it seemed like Wooddale were not interested in strengthening their lies or their threats. I was told that there is going to be a street built through my backyard. I was told that there is going to be a development of retail spaces on 83, and they were going to take the properties for that. There were all kinds of rumors, lies, and threats. And the problem is that people that did get intimidated, they sold their properties for $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. The ones that weren't intimidated, they received over $2 million per their property. So I received offer in November of 23, 2 months ago, that was $32 per square foot of my property. Well, the prices that were paid up to $107 per square foot. That's 3.5 times higher. So those differences are huge, and the process that keeps happening involves you as well. And this hearing is part of the process of, we're going to build around you, and you won't be able to sell your houses. That's a very popular intimidation tactic done by developers. They used it 5 years ago. They're using it now by this application and by this threat of building something 75 feet high, about 100 feet from my house. Very noisy, very power intensive. The application does not state how much power they plan to use. CyrusOne is a leader in power usage. Most of data centers built up till now are calculated based on 7 to 9 kilowatts per rack. A rack is basically a rack with the computers, okay? They can have hundreds, even thousands of those racks in one site. Now, this with development of artificial intelligence and increased hunger for power and computing is getting increased from 7 to 9 kilowatts to 50 to 70 kilowatts presently. Now, the Cyrus CEO in September of 23 gave an interview, and he announced, to surprise of everybody, or maybe nobody, I don't know, that he plans to use 300 kilowatts per rack. Now, that's a huge increase. I haven't noticed anything in applications specifying what kind of power this building can use. But
Sir, we're well beyond the time now. I'm just asking if you could make some concluding remarks. I want to give other folks in the audience an opportunity to speak.
So my question is, what are your plans against us? Are you gonna keep intimidating us until we sell for peanuts? Is Wooddale part of this? I mean, is this hearing part of the intimidation process? There is still 8 properties that hasn't been sold. What are you doing? If they are buying everything around us, are they planning to use the property south? In their application on the page 3, they're saying that they own property south from this. Well, I'm directly south from it, in the middle. They don't own my property. What are your plans? Are you gonna build around me, or are you gonna buy me out? There is not even a communication. I attempted to communicate it with CyrusOne. There are phone numbers that just answered by a customer representative, and they say, well, we're gonna put you in touch with somebody, they call you back. They never do. So there is no communication with CyrusOne. Transwestern isn't present here, I don't see. Who do we talk to? What's our future? Are you trying to imitate us as well? I mean, it seems like you do.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your comments. Is there any other members of the public that would like to make a comment or a statement? Yes, ma'am.
Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
Vanessa Velasco, 17W036 Hawthorne Avenue.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm a resident, a mother, and a wife. And for the past 6 years, I've been living in a state of continuous uncertainty and distress. Our neighborhood has faced turmoil since 2018 due to the ongoing development. Unlike other areas where entire neighborhoods were bought out for data centers, our community has been left fragmented. This piecemeal approach has overlooked our daily needs and has severely impacted our family life. The constant state of flux has deeply affected my family's well-being. Our once stable life is now filled with new challenges and disruptions. The breaking into homes and the ongoing construction has raised serious safety concerns. It's making us feel vulnerable and isolated. Furthermore, this development has directly impacted my son's life. His bus stop and the park where we used to play and walk to, it's gone. His friends have moved away, leaving him feeling alone. sorry. The loss of these connections in our community's fabric has been devastating. In light of these changes, I just ask, who is considering the impact on these families, at least mine? Our concerns seem insignificant in the face of this rapid development. Please consider the radiation effects and the proposed substation, especially on children. Has any study been conducted to ensure our safety? Moreover, has the City Council assessed the impact on local schools and the noise disturbances similar to the issues faced in Chandler, Arizona? As mothers, I look to you as a steward and a guardian of our children and my child. Please do not let us, for the sake of this corporation, to prioritize this financial gain over our community's well-being. I also ask, is there any handicap access from Bryn Mawr to Foster? The park where we used to walk to, it's demolished. Will there be any walking paths for the remaining residents so I could walk my son in the summer? He has no friends anymore. All his neighbors are gone. So I just would like to see what's the process after that. So I just implore you that please delay the approval of this appraisal until we have sufficient fact-based research and assurances that protect the health, safety, and well-being of our community members and our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Would you raise your right hand, please, sir, and state your name and address?
Yes, my name is Chris Prusnell. My address is 17 West 022 Hawthorne. Coincidentally enough, I think I represent one of the other properties that has not been acquired by CyrusOne yet.
Sir, do
yes.
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I swear to tell the truth, the whole
Nothing
truth.
but the truth, so help you
Nothing
God.
but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you.
It's kind of funny because I'm hearing a lot of things here that really make me, my ears perk up because staff mentioned that, from her understanding, that they were in process of acquiring all the homes remaining south of this. My residential, I have had absolutely zero communication ever about acquiring my property. I challenge Transwestern, CyrusOne, anybody to show any documents where they've talked to me, called me, attempted to call me. I've been completely left in the dark on here. What I see is, as I'm reading through Wooddale and getting to learn more about Wooddale, the UDO that was crafted, I can read from it, but your obligations as a commission is to look at all subdivisions and improvements in the public ways within 1.5 miles of corporate limits, which all the people who've spoken so far would fall on, in between. Those have not been addressed. I'm hearing things about diesel generators and wastewater and sound pollution. And every community I've ever been involved with has always had guidelines. If I'm not incorrect, I think Chairman Conaway mentioned earlier that the burden of proof is on the petitioner to prove that they've met everything that's been requested. So far, I have heard zero proof from CyrusOne as to how what they're asking for benefits anything that's in the UDO. I don't know how they can say that they're trying to acquire the properties, and I heard something about intimidation. Just a few moments ago, I heard from planning saying, or staff saying that if they don't get acquired south of it, they're going to be annexed. For me, who's never had a single communication from CyrusOne, who's only found out about this because I drove past and seen a billboard, I'm appalled. I think that right now, CyrusOne has not met the burden of proof that they deserve any part of the variances that they've requested until they fulfill the needs and expectations of the UDO, of Wooddale. And I urge all of you to act as you're instructed, as you're commissioned in this, as you've been taught. I think from your own website, it says that you guys have been instructed that any decisions that you make are for the greater good of the residents of Wooddale. And listen, the burden of proof is on them. They haven't done it. They have not communicated to me. My parcel, which is kind of like in between whatever everybody else has been talking about. Zero communication at all, not a single word, not a single offer, not anything. I'm actually the poster child, the definition of what's going to happen. And I'm scared on my mind what's going to happen in phase 3 or 4, because much like the gentleman mentioned earlier, I've been asking and I haven't been able to get any clarification as to what the future holds. My residential property right now is on an island with absolutely no communication. So I urge you to reconsider this petition today, channel it, and instruct, as long as there are residences next to this planned unit development and what's requesting for the special use permit, challenge CyrusOne to make sure that they satisfy all the residents in there. And if there's no residents around, I would agree with staff. Let's find the best use for it. Let them make all the profit they want, maximize all the profit they want. But I can't imagine being a member of this committee and being a part of an attempt, an obvious attempt from them to maximize their stock price and their profits on the expense of the residents of this community. And until, like my ask of you is make them eliminate the inconveniences that they're proposing. They have not addressed one single concern of the residences as this impacts residences. They seem to have attempted to communicate in bipartisan with some people, but they haven't mine. And until all that gets resolved, I don't see how this can move forward. This project can move forward until the challenge that we put before you is to satisfy the residents. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there any other member of the public that would like to make a comment, statement? Okay.
So we'll go up and make a little more short.
Yes, real quick. Go ahead.
Do we have any information on the next phase? Because I think it directly...
If you could go to the podium, just because everything's being recorded tonight.
Do we have any slide that shows the next phase south of Washington Street? Because I think what's going on here is going to be a precedent set for what we expect to see for that phase. Do we have a slide that shows that?
No, that application will not be considered at this meeting. It's coming up next month. So I'm not prepared. I do not have any information.
Okay, but currently, is it on the website?
No, it is not. It is tentatively scheduled for a public hearing next month and will come in front of this commission.
Okay. All right, yeah, there's definitely some things that I could discuss about that, especially what they're doing with Washington Street and how it's isolated from 83. How you can only enter that road coming southbound, and you can only leave going southbound. So it's definitely an issue of trying to get to your own home, especially during rush hour. And anyone that drives on 83 and rush hour in this area knows exactly what I'm talking about. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
I would like to make one more comment too.
Very quickly.
I find it appalling that we're being asked to fraction off and consider part of a development without knowing the rest of it. Because much like he mentioned about Washington, on Hawthorne, I've seen some little red batch marks, which I can only assume is going to be something similar. We don't know what's facing us. We haven't had communication from anybody on the corporate side. Just the greedy people who want to make money, they're asking for everything they can get. But they are doing so without affecting the residences and the businesses in the area. And I think that the proper thing to do for this commission is not to consider this until all parts of it are laid out. Like if this is scheduled for a future hearing, let's combine them, because doing it part and parcel all is just a tactic, much like intimidation, where we are fractioning people off, and there will be less people here for it then, because there's almost nobody left now. I laughed when I said that they're going to improve the mainly vacant properties right now, and that's because they bought them all. The next hearing is going to be the exact same thing, because they will have bought some more. We don't know. This property, as far as we know, this can go down to Foster, it can go down to Irving. Nobody knows what's going on, and my decision whether I want to keep my house, whether I want to sell it, whether I want to keep my business, anything that happens here is I'm dealing with only half the story. And I can't imagine in good conscience that staff or the commission or anybody who represents Wooddale could do so without exposing themselves to significant legal scrutiny. I mean, to me, this is starting to border on the potential for abuse of like eminent, like not eminent domain, but like if you look at it, when cities try to put the priorities of their own tax base ahead of the residents at the cost of the residents, like this is something that, you know, doesn't sound appropriate and that should not be considered until we have the entire picture laid out in front of us. So I urge you to not to table this until we have all the information in front of us, including what the ordinances are. The sound ordinances that are in Chandler, I was just looking up right now. It's amazing how detailed it is. And they're still having problems. 20-something million dollars was invested in sound mitigation, not addressed here. You're being asked, you guys are being asked, to sign off on something, to sign over your souls to a corporate, demon who's going to, take what they want and do it at the expense of your residents. And that's something that I want you to consider depending on how you vote for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. One follow-up, but we have to start wrapping this up, so go ahead.
Quickly, I just would like to present that I do have actually the agreement between Cyrus One and Phase 3 for the record, if you guys would like to view it. I know we're not discussing it, but it does directly involve the rest of the subdivision. These are issues that we're going to be having to deal with for years to come. I would like to present it and make it part of it.
Those are Phase 3, but they're not declaring it today.
I appreciate your request. What sort of agreement are you referring to?
I would expect you to know, but I can present it to you. This is an agreement between Wooddale and Cyrus One for Phase 3, not for Phase 2, for Phase 3. So this is going to be ongoing development. The reason why this is a big deal is because this building will then lead into the next building, right? To not discuss it, I think, would not be right. I wasn't going to present it, but since they mentioned that you weren't prepared, I am prepared. I have the document paper.
We'll mark it for the record, sir. So why don't you give it to our minute taker? We'll mark it for the record.
Thank you, sir.
So for the record, Wooddale is aware of Phase 3, but they chose not to disclose it during this meeting.
Okay. Are there any other member of the public that has any comments or statements who have not had the opportunity to speak yet? Okay. Does the applicant, do you want to make any further statements in support of your application? You don't have to, but you certainly have that opportunity.
Yeah,
Okay, if you have some follow-up statements, then you can approach the podium.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I think it might be naive to think that I could address everyone's concerns with one or two broad statements. But I did want to get up here just to acknowledge that I heard some of the concerns from the folks that I haven't had a chance to meet yet. We own this land. We obviously have an intent to develop in this area. We will be neighbors. And so I welcome conversations to address some of those specific concerns that some people have expressed. And I want to make myself and my other company representatives available for those conversations. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Okay. Can we have a contact with you?
Yeah.
Can I give you a card or something?
Yeah, I'll get you to
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any members of the CDC who have any follow-up questions, either for staff or for the applicant?
I got it.
Yes, go ahead.
Topic was brought up about generators, backup generator. Are they going to be operated on natural gas or diesel?
Diesel.
And how much running time and how big a tanks will there be?
Specific tank size, going off the top of my head, they run once a month for about 30 minutes for maintenance purposes.
And how many generators are there?
We've got them shown on the plan. I think there's 9 on each side of the building, so 18 total, I believe.
And is there cat generators?
We get them from multiple manufacturers, Cat, Cummins.
But they're big.
Yeah, they're larger generators.
And the other thing is, are they above ground or are they below ground tanks?
They're above ground. They have belly tanks. So each unit has its own belly tank, yeah.
And they're sort of monitored for leaks?
Correct, yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Yeah.
Goshen, this is for you. Were we aware of any of these things that people have been bringing up in regards to this?
In particular, so a lot of the things in terms of noise, water pollution, air pollution, all of that is addressed in the performance standard. So that was part of our review. A lot of those really get reviewed during the permitting process. So these heavily rely on state regulations or federal regulations. As a city of Wooddale, we don't necessarily have the capacity or the knowledge to enforce all of these. So we rely on whatever state mandates or what are the federal agencies that are involved. So that is part of the process, but it doesn't always come up specifically during the zoning entitlement process. It doesn't trigger until we get into permitting, we get into the building reviews for the permits.
All right. Excuse me. One more question about those generators. Are they going to be housed?
They are outside.
They're outside?
Yeah.
Do they make moats around it to contain if there is a leak?
You know what, we're getting some more questions, which are great, but can you please approach the podium, because again, this is being recorded, so we're not getting your testimony on the recording.
The question was relating to protection underneath the tanks, I believe. Go ahead, Payman, do you have a...
Yes, so they are above ground, and also there is some containment around them. They come in different shapes, different manufacturers, so it's just the all varies.
I got one more question, please. How long running time have they got a tank per generator? I mean, are they gonna run for 2 hours and shut off because the fuel's used up, or?
I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, it's quite a few hundreds of, I don't even want, since I'm on the record, I don't want to misspoke or misspeak or quote something that I don't have exact knowledge of.
I have a little background in it, and I was just wondering if part of municipalities limit you to running time on them as far as fuel capacity.
The runtime is governed by the Illinois EPA in terms, and that's part of that permitting process that Gosha was alluding to in terms of the number of generators that you can have on site, how long they can run. That's all monitored and permitted by the Illinois EPA.
And a few of the generators I was involved in, they were also enclosed in the building for like ice rinks and whatever, you know, in municipal parks. It's got the noise down.
I got a question.
Yep.
There we go. I'm sure these concerns are not new to you, sir. Can you quickly educate me on EMF? And can you tell us whether you have internal planned scheduled testing, regular testing for EMF? And if so, do those results get shared with neighboring cities and other authorities?
I don't have any specific knowledge on EMF to share at a company level, no.
Any other questions that the CDC members have for applicants or staff? Okay, so I'm going to just make one last call for questions, because as you know, once we close the public hearing and we enter into the deliberations, the opportunity to ask questions is over, and that piece is just for deliberation. So making a last call for any follow-up questions. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Remember, that's not voting on anything, that's just closing the public hearing so that we can enter into deliberations. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a
Second.
we have a motion and a second. And we'll just do a roll call on this. close the public hearing.
Okay, just to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay, Ms. Rudnicki.
Is this a yes or no?
Yeah, this is just to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Mr. Parenti?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Zadko? Yes. Mr. Woods?
Yes.
And Chairman Ochoa?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the public hearing portion is closed. Now we're entering to the portion where the CDC deliberates. You can offer your comments, your statements on this particular request, your opinions, things of that nature. So does any CDC member have any statements or comments that they wish to make at this time? Mr. Wood?
No, I was letting him go first.
Mr. Peterson?
I just think there's a lot more questions, and maybe you need more time to get them answered.
Okay.
I agree with that 100%. That maybe it'd be a good idea to table this. And hopefully in that little bit of time, somebody can work with the people out there so that we won't have any problems whatsoever. And then we can all feel good about passing it through and not have to worry about somebody's health or well-being or whatever.
I agree, because with the pollution and all the things that we don't have answers to, I think there should be more research to see what could happen.
Okay. Any other questions or statements or thoughts? Okay, so typically, and I know the suggestion was maybe table. So what I always recommend in these particular situations is if that's the general consensus, before we vote on it, I always like to ask the applicant what their preference is. This is their application. Okay, so they have a right, if they do not want to table, they have a right to an up or down vote today. Okay, now the city council always has the opportunity to send it back to us if they feel like more study is needed. Okay, so just a quick question to the applicant. Is there any interest in continuing this matter, or would you like a vote today?
I'm open to having discussion table and addressing the concerns.
Okay. Okay. All right, so what we'll do is we'll do a motion to table this request to, I suppose, the next scheduled meeting. I don't know if we're going to want to do a special on this or at the next regular meeting.
We'll have to take a look at the sort of the pipeline of the cases that are coming up.
So what we'll do is we'll just do a motion to table to the next meeting. Either a regular or a specially scheduled meeting. That will be the motion. So the motion is a motion to table the request to either the next regular or specially scheduled meeting. That's the motion. Okay, anybody can say so moved?
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? No? Okay. Let's take a roll call on the motion to table.
Ms. Rudnicki?
Yes.
Ms. Zadko?
Yes.
Mr. Parenti?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
And Chairman Ochoa?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes, so this case will be continued either to the next regular CDC meeting or to a specially scheduled meeting. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next case. All right, the next case is CDC 2024-001. This is a city-initiated text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code, which is being proposed. The purpose of this text amendment is to consider regulations that would allow recreational cannabis dispensaries in most commercial and industrial zoning districts. The application is being heard under case number CDC 2024-0001. Okay, let's begin. Staff, can you please indicate when the notice of the hearing was published and whether you have the certificate of publication from the newspaper?
Should I be sworn in again for the new public hearing?
Yeah, let's just swear in just for the public hearing.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please, and state your name and address?
Gosha Pocheha, 404 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, Gosha.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a copy of the certificate of publication. The notice of this public hearing for the text amendment was published in Daily Herald on January 6th, 2024.
Okay. Seeing as how this is a city-initiated text amendment, staff, do you have a presentation you'd like to make?
I do. Thank you. So in front of us today, we do have a proposed text amendment. This will...
Hold on one second, Coach. Folks, we're entering another case right now. You're welcome to address any questions out in the hallway or common area. Thank you.
Sir, this is your guy. Thank you so much for the Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So we do have a text amendment to Chapter 17, which is our UDO, and also Chapter 13, which is the sign code. I wanted to provide a little bit of background because what we really have in front of us is a text amendment that would allow recreational cannabis dispensaries in the city, but there's a little bit of a background. Mainly, I wanted to touch base on the medical cannabis. This dates back to actually 2014. This was a state act that actually allowed local governments, actually mandated that local governments cannot prohibit medical cannabis dispensaries and medical cannabis cultivation centers. So by law, we were required to adopt an ordinance, which was done in 2014, stating that medical cannabis cultivation centers and dispensaries would be allowed as a special use in the industrial zoning districts. So this was done back in 2014. Fast forward to the end of 2019, and we, as everyone in the state of Illinois at the time was made aware that the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act was becoming effective in January of 2020. And that particular act essentially legalized the sale of recreational cannabis. The city had the option at that point to actually opt out completely from any type of recreational cannabis establishment in the city, or we could establish zoning regulations at the time. The direction was given to opt out at the time, or essentially prohibit any type of recreational establishment or cannabis establishment at the time, mainly because it was very new. Not anyone really had an idea of how this would operate, what would be the implications on the public, on policing, and so on. Although it was mentioned at the time that this is something that could be revisited in the future as more information becomes available. I did want to provide just a kind of more recent feedback. This was sort of middle end of 2013, so at the end of last year, city council members sort of brought up the topic again, that perhaps the city should revisit recreational cannabis establishments, more specifically the dispensaries, as a potential permitted use in the city. There was a Public Health, Safety, and Judiciary and Ethics Committee meeting in October, where the staff, really the directors from the police department, from finance, from public works, and also the city attorney sort of provided research. What was sort of the latest information that was available in terms of, were there any issues with policing? What would be the financial impact with the potential sales tax revenue? With community development, we also looked at, any existing zoning restrictions that other municipalities were using, and so on. The committee at that time, after hearing all that information, instructed staff to begin drafting the text amendment, that this was the direction that the city wanted to move on. In January, so just a couple weeks ago, we did have a planning, zoning and building committee, PZB committee, where some of the questions that came up during the zoning review were sort of answered, and a lot of them dealt with which zoning districts should we focus on, do we want to allow on-site consumption, and so on. So this is the text amendment that is in your packet is essentially drafted on the feedback that was provided from the other committees, but obviously this is something that we wanted to present in front of the Community Development Commission, as we do with any type of text amendment. I wanted to provide a little bit of that research that we looked into. And mainly we focused on neighboring communities. We wanted to see what all the other municipalities are doing. And out of 30 surveyed municipalities around Wooddale, 23 permit recreational cannabis dispensaries, and actually 18 of them have at least one or more cannabis dispensaries on site. So that was helpful because our police chief was able to reach out to police chiefs from other municipalities just to see if there were any concerns. And to our knowledge, there were really no significant impacts. This is the list of all the communities. As you can see, I know it's very small, but you can you have the table in your packet. As you can see, the very top majority of them do allow recreational cannabis. We also looked at on-site consumption, and only two, actually there's one listed, there's another municipality that's further away, does allow on-site consumption, but that is not something that we are recommending at this point. These are the existing dispensaries. We wanted to kind of focus on how many, where are they located. Mainly, we wanted to see if they are in commercial versus industrial zoning districts. Are they on commercial roads, sort of the general location. So overall, we found that majority of the municipalities do allow them in commercial zoning districts. So this isn't a use that is strictly designated sort of just for the industrial zoning districts. And a lot of them, as you can see, major arterial, so something that is significant visual impact on the city. So that's once again just what we have found in our research. The actual text amendment that is being proposed, there are a couple sections of the code that are being modified. This is heavily based on the research that we did. This, once again, similar municipalities around us, but also the Illinois Municipal League put together this draft text ordinance that a lot of that text is coming from. So it's kind of a mix of everything, and obviously that's something that's been modified and reviewed just for the purpose of the city. So I'm just going to highlight this very quickly. These are the sections that are being affected. We have, obviously, the definitions are being added in our definitions section. We also have the section on cannabis. So this is an existing section, but what we're doing is we're adding the regulations for recreational cannabis dispensaries. I do want to point out that the Act from 2020 introduced 7 different types of establishments related to recreational cannabis. We're proposing to prohibit all the other ones, and those are usually like the infusers or something like craft growers. They're more specialized, so the decision is to really just focus on recreational cannabis dispensaries, and that's how the text amendment is drafted. We did modify the medical cannabis dispensaries, because what happens in a lot of cases, you have the same dispensary that service the medical and the recreational, so we thought those really should align in terms of requirements. And the medical cannabis cultivation centers are largely remaining unchanged, because once again, we are required by the Act, by the state Act, to actually have those addressed in our code. A little bit more on the text amendment, we have the table of permitted uses. That is something that is being changed. We're adding this new text. We did a little bit of cleanup. We had a couple of the uses listed in there twice. We're kind of adding the overlay districts just to make sure that everything is consistent. The off-street parking we wanted to address. If a new business comes in, how do we calculate parking? Really, the sort of the standard is it's going to operate similar to a retail operation, so those would be the parking standards that are applicable. And I do want to mention the sign code. So there are a few restrictions that we found in terms of what could be visible on the sign itself. So those are being added in there as well. I did want to focus on just a couple things. We don't have to go into all of the specific regulations, but in terms of locations, so the recommendation is to make recreational cannabis dispensaries a permitted use in the industrial districts and most of the commercial zoning districts. The biggest exception would be the C3 zoning district. That is essentially all of our Potter Street. That is it sort of used to be light industrial zoning district. Right now it's designated as its own C3 zoning district. The concern is that it faces residential. It directly faces residential as opposed to, let's say, properties that are on Irving where the residential is sort of behind them. So that would be an excluded zoning district. We're also proposing a buffer where a recreational cannabis dispensary cannot locate within 1,000 feet of an existing school. So those are, we have a map, and this is a bit of a close-up, showing the location of the existing schools and sort of the 1,000-foot buffer around them. And all of the sort of industrial zoning districts are typically, the industrial is the sort of the purple on the top, and then obviously you've got the commercial along Irving Park Road. In terms of public comment, we really have not received any comments or concerns. I did have one person reach out to me. They just wanted to actually see a copy of our draft ordinance. I think this is just something that they were verifying. And in terms of the UDO and comprehensive plan compliance, there aren't any requirements in our UDO that we have to adopt findings of fact. However, we always look at the UDO and the comprehensive plan just to kind of see if the proposed change is consistent, and we do believe so. Therefore, CD staff recommends that CDC recommend approval of these proposed text amendment to the City Council. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the CDC members of staff? Mr. Wood?
Gosha, who was on the PCB committee?
I'm sorry?
Who was on the PCB committee?
So all of the
How did this even come
aldermen,
about is what I'm asking.
so all the aldermen are part
All
of
the
the
aldermen.
committees. I do not know if all of them were present at that meeting, but it's our committees are essentially our aldermen that are divided into different sort of committees. So yes.
All right, so all our aldermen want it to be commercial?
I don't know if all of them do.
Okay, well, you're making it sound like.
Okay.
Prove this.
So
was
no.
going for all industrial and commercial.
That was the direction that was given. Similar, like maybe not all of CDC always agrees on the topic, but we go with the majority vote.
Okay, and now will this store have to have a license?
Correct.
Approved by
Of
the
course.
mayor?
That's, so yeah, obviously state licensing is required.
But is it approved through the mayor too, just like the liquor license?
So this is something that we are still looking into. I don't think we can call it a license. So there's going to be commercial occupancy certificate. There's going to be a piece tied to it. But I think per state, we cannot call it a license because they get the licensing through the state.
Okay, and will this place have to have like a, similar to a dram shot insurance?
Then I'm sorry, to what?
A dram shot insurance like they would have for a liquor store or a bar or whatever?
I do not know that. I presume there are a lot more requirements that they have to meet for the state. I don't know if that would be a zoning requirement. So that is not something that we addressed.
So what you're telling me is you guys want to have this on Irving Park Road or in the industrial park, which I don't think you can do because the schools kind of are everywhere in the industrial park. You got the other schools in there? Wooddale has 4 schools.
Yep.
Then you have The Voice is in there. So that's 5. Yeah, Jared. So there's 6. There's a lot more schools than you think in there.
Okay.
So you're going to be almost pushing it.
Yeah, the
commercial.
language is to focus on public schools.
All schools aren't important? Is that what you're telling me? I mean, you mentioned it to where I'm asking.
I
Aren't all
think I need to
schools
be
important?
sworn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please, Stacy?
Stacy Springer, 404 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Did you look something up that you
So it says a school, a pre-existing school.
Okay.
It doesn't say.
So what's in the proposal is all schools, and we did not.
We
look
did
that
not
up?
include them in the graphic, but obviously that would be something that would be considered.
What you're gonna find that it covers pretty much the industrial park, so you're gonna have no choice but to go commercial on Irving Park Road, which is originally, way back when, what nobody wanted. Because now you're gonna have other people coming and they're gonna wanna sit and, they'll come out, they'll wanna eat their gummies or whatever, right there, and to each his own, do what you wanna do, but do we really wanna see it? It's like adding another bar. Do we want another bar?
The code specifically says on-site consumption is prohibited, so that's
I
something that could be
understand that.
enforced.
It also says don't drink and drive, but they do it all the time, don't they? All right.
Yeah, Mr. Peterson?
Are we voting on these, various things one by one? All these amendments?
It's all one text amendment. I just broke it down as a summary, but in the packet, you have the complete text color-coded. That's the text amendment, correct.
And just for clarification, Gosha, the prohibition is to all schools, not just public schools.
That is correct. It says all existing schools.
So what's being proposed is the 1,000-foot barrier as to all schools. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Staff, do you have anything further to add on this one?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions or comments, we'll... Oh. No. This is very good call, Albert.
Listening and learning.
He's the chairman, look at that. So you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Yes, there being no other member of the public that wishes to speak on this, we'll have a motion to close the public hearing. So we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's roll call that, please, Fiona.
Okay. Ms. Rudnicki?
Yes.
Ms. Datko? Yes. Mr. Parenti?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
No?
He said yes.
He said yes.
I'm sorry?
He said yes.
You said yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Woods
Yes.
and Chairman Ochoa.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing portion of this case is closed. Now we'll proceed to deliberations. Do members have any statements or comments you'd like to make?
I'll let everybody else go first.
Yeah, this is where the world is going. We either get on the boat or we stay behind, or some other neighboring city is gonna allow these new businesses, which are very popular, to open and serve the special customer base that there is for this.
Okay. Mr. Peterson?
I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's unneeded. I think we don't want to turn Wooddale into New York.
Sorry. I think it's a great idea. I think there's a lot to marijuana in the medical field of being, I'm not going.
Yeah, we're getting feedback.
There's a lot of studies that medical marijuana helps with a lot of illnesses, including anxiety and all the things that people are getting pharmaceutical drugs for, which are really just street drugs translated into pharmaceuticals, and it is a slippery slope, but I think it's a great idea. So that's my opinion.
Mr. Wood?
I'll agree with part of what you said.
Sure.
I mean, it has helped in many different things in this world right now. But do we need to have it right on Irving Park Road? I mean, we were always open-minded to having it, but it was going to be an industrial park then. If you look at, I mean, we're still trying to keep that small town look to us. If you look at the towns that haven't done this, they're the small little towns. And if you look at the ones that have done it, there are some very close to us. So if there was somebody needing it, they could get it very easily without coming to Wooddale for it. Or if we're gonna have it in Wooddale, let's put it somewhere where every kid in the world's not seeing it. I mean, you already told me medical marijuana is great, and I agree with that. But I think we also know that marijuana is probably a starting drug for every kid.
Well, I mean, I agree with part of what you're saying. It was really annoying, but, you need an ID to get into one of these places to get, and you need a driver's license, you need to register, there's a lot of things to it. And if I want to go, if I'm a kid, I can get drugs anywhere. It's just the reality of the situation, of the world we live in. And these are drugs that are not laced with fentanyl, they're not laced with anything else, or combined with anything else. These are adults purchasing drugs. It's not something.
To a point they are, but there are a lot of things we don't know about the marijuana they actually give you as far as what it is actually laced with, because it's at a lot stronger of a potency than it ever was when we were all kids or whatever. They can make the gummies with 2 and 3 times the amount of THC in it. So it's hard to say. I'm just saying that for the view of this city, and if you want to be able to get it, you can go right into Bensonville, I believe, and get it. I don't think we need one here. And if we are, I would prefer to see it in an industrial area. We'll just have to find 1,000 feet somewhere from one of the schools. And I'm not against that. I just don't want to advertise it and make it look to kids like, hey, this is the thing you should be doing.
I think there'd be a lot of areas in the industrial areas to put one.
Yeah, right next to the building.
Buy those
All right, any other statements, opinions, comments?
I don't know, I guess the same argument was had 20, 30, 40 years ago with cigarettes. Right, that's down to the department. In any city. Especially Boardman.
Especially DuPage County.
Especially DuPage County, because we border Cook. So I think the valid arguments on both sides, but I think this will give our staff the flexibility to and the city the flexibility, aldermen, mayors, to move in the direction they see fit.
And I'll answer that question. First of all, the cigarettes are on a downhill slide, probably for the last 10 years, easy,
Yeah, because
tremendously.
it's cancer. I mean,
I understand. And how do you know marijuana won't?
because there's studies that, like,
There's another
years
thing to it.
ago, that CBD and marijuana are they were used to cure illnesses
Okay.
years ago.
Do the carcinogens close arteries? Yes,
I'm
they
not a
do.
doctor.
I'm here to tell you they do.
I think no one here is an expert.
But here,
Yeah,
I want to
just
get back to
know-
one other thing you said about jumping on the bandwagon. You know, somebody else will do it. Hey, somebody else puts in strip clubs. We don't have any here, do we? I mean, you can't put out everything that's there. You got to use some common sense and say, hey, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. We don't want that look.
I just don't think at this day and age it's a bad look. Personally, I just don't think that it's a bad look. I think it's the future. You know, it's not everybody's taking a gummy to get high.
I didn't say a word.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying they can't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's legal.
They might have to go 3 more blocks to get it.
That's fine. I just think it's also tax dollars, that revenue that the city could get. Maybe our water bills will go down.
Maybe.
Okay. Any other opinions?
Is there a benefit for the village having these in their town? I'm sure there is, right?
Yeah, there is, just to let you know about the law end of it, there is a municipal tax that can be put on retailers.
And that is at the municipal discretion?
Correct.
Or is there a standard by law?
No, it's within the discretion of the municipality to put the tax on. I'm not aware of any community that's allowed dispensaries that does not have the tax. So I don't think there's one out there. So typically, when they're approved, the municipal tax is put on the sale. All right. Any other comments or questions before we make the motion and take the vote? Okay, and remember, this is, as Gosha indicated in her presentation, this is really coming to you because it came out of the PZB, which Gosha rightly explained is really what's called a committee of the whole. So it was the city council. I don't know who all was present at that particular meeting, but there was an affirmative vote that came out recommending this be put to you guys the way that it's put to you. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll make a motion on the application as presented. Remember, if you are in favor of this as it's been presented, you would vote yes. If you're not in favor of it as it's been presented, you would vote no. Okay, so here's the recommended motion. Based on the submitted petition and testimony presented, the proposed text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code, is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is in keeping with the purpose and intent of the UDO. And therefore, I move that the Community Development Commission adopt the findings of fact included within the staff memo dated January 22nd, 2024, as the findings of the Community Development Commission, and recommend to City Council approval of the text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code, that would allow cannabis dispensaries in case number CDC 2024-0001. That is the recommended motion. There weren't any other conditions, right? Okay, that's the recommended motion. Anyone can say so moved. Okay. Ms. Acko has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, remember, if you vote yes, you're in favor of the proposal. If you vote no, you're not in favor of recommending the proposal. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Rudnicki?
Yes.
Ms. Zetko?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
No.
Mr. Parenti?
No.
Mr. Peterson?
No.
And Chairman Ochoa?
Yes.
Okay, so the vote is 3-3. This particular vote did not receive the majority or the required 4 votes to recommend approval. So it will go up as a recommended denial to the PZB committee. Okay, and that's it. That's it. All right, Mr. Chairman, who is back with us.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry for being late. Is there any report from staff?
No, we do have an anticipated meeting in February. It will be on the 26th of February. We will have to plan out exactly when the applicant from tonight will be able to come back, so we'll be in touch with everyone with a potential maybe for special call if needed.
Just for noting purposes, I will not be available on the 19th nor the 26th of February.
Okay, thank you.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, I think, so if I ask, yes.
No, so we're at a special meeting. So we had a regular meeting last week. We will approve those meeting minutes at our next regular meeting. Yeah.
With regards to the first case that we heard tonight, I kindly ask everyone to maybe email staff any additional questions or concerns that we might have as a committee. That way, when we show up next time around, we're not expecting them to read our mind on the questions that are in our head. Fair enough? So EMF, noise, testing, state, Hollis building in Wooddale, Hollis building on 83. Would be good questions to email. Okay, with that, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Sean, who, will Gosha have these,
Yeah, that's a city record.
I'm sorry?
It's a city record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We need the FAA.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. There'll be a motion and a second. All in favor, say yay. All those opposed, say no. This motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.
So the very first meeting we had with them.